I'm going to present on conceptual and grammatical integration of clauses in Mundari. So first let me begin with the introduction. The current paper is an attempt at a study of clause integration in Mundari from a cognitive linguistics point of view. That the data for the study comes from our field work carried in some of the major areas where the language is spoken in Assam. So, in cognitive linguistics, all elements posited in grammar have a conceptual input, which in turn motivate the grammatical behavior. In other words, grammar in this approach is not independent of meaning, grammar is rather meaningful. So, conceptually, hello.
We can hear you. Just make the introduction part brief because we don't have much time left.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Conceptually, things and relations combine to form a conceptual code and ultimately a situation, which is expressed as a sentence in language. Again, a sentence is made of at least one clause. Thus, technically, a clause basically expresses a situation. The clause is a key unit of grammar and its structure is widely studied in all recent theories. However, in cognitive linguistics, the syntax of a clausal structure has a conceptual basis, which is reflected by the particular construct imposed on it by the speaker. A speaker may conceive a situation of the world in different ways, and the ability to grammatically express these different conceptualizations of a situation in different ways is called as a construct. A speaker may choose alternate grammatical constructs guided by different cognitive principles to express alternate conceptualizations of the same situation. So, what happens is speakers of the world do not conceptualize situation independently, that is, in isolation. Rather, they conceptualize it in relation to other situations. For example, in the sentence, he read a book and then slept for an hour. Two situations are linked on the basis of a temporal order. Again, he got sick because he played in the rain. Is due to causal relation. The examples above can be said to express complex situations in the sense that they express more than one situation conceptually connected. So, we all know that the grammatical linking involved in the first sentence is coordination, and the grammatical linking involved in the second example is subordination. So, in expressing a sequence of situations, the speaker has to decide which of these grammatical options best renders his or her communicative intentions. The speaker's choice here is not arbitrary, but mainly governed by the joint interaction of three cognitive principles. Iconic principle of proximity or distance, the iconic principle of sequential order, perceptual principle of figure and ground. And mainly these three principles will be applied in this current paper to describe clause integration in Mundari. So, I'm making it quick and jumping the slides, okay? So, first let's come to juxtaposition in Mundari. There are many gradations in how tightly or loosely two situations are conceptually connected with each other, and that affects the grammatical linking with language. In juxtaposition, the independent sentences simply stand next to each other. That is, the conceptual link between them is not grammatically over the language. For example, examples from Mundari, hini picked seno janai, hini uli kiring karai. Meaning, he went to the market, he bought mangoes. Ain chhod ke le jaine, hini nil janai. I saw the thief, he ran away. In each of the examples, the two sentences are simply juxtaposed with no overt grammatical linking. But as they are juxtaposed, native speakers of the language will tend to see a conceptual link between them. So they will interpret them as, number one, he went to the market and bought some mangoes from there. Number two, I saw the thief and then he ran away. In all these cases, the juxtaposed sentences are conveying causal meanings, where according to the perceptual principle of figure and ground, the first event is the ground which sets the causal ground for the second event, that is the figure, to take place. By the iconic principle of sequential order, the temporal order between juxtaposed sentences, though not explicitly stated, can be interpreted sequentially. The first action mentioned was the first to occur. The second sentence denotes the earlier event, while the second sentence denotes the later event. This means the juxtaposed sentences will also mean a purely temporal relation. Thus, when the order of the sentences is reversed, their temporal order changes too. For example, am kamike rikaime ekso taka am emame. Meaning, you do this work, I'll give you 100 rupees. Again, if we reverse the order, then also the meaning remains the same. For example, exo taka amame, am kami ke dikhame. But facts remain that juxtaposed sentences will be interpreted as expressing two completely separate propositions. For example, in one above, the person bought some mangoes from the market, from the market, not from the market where he had gone to. According to the iconic principle of proximity distance, conceptual units that belong together conceptually tend to be closely integrated grammatically, whereas those that do not belong together conceptually are also grammatically distanced. Thus, juxtaposed sentences with no overt grammatical linking may not belong together conceptually and may also be distant in language as well. Because juxtaposed sentences are loosely connected conceptually, they also be interpreted in contrastive sense. For example, hine khakao hejane, hine kai hiju janai. For example, meaning I called him but he didn't come. Moving on to coordination in Mundari. In coordination, the conceptual linking between situations is slightly stronger than that of juxtaposition. Here, each clause is fully grounded and can stand alone as an independent conceptualization. Such sentences are often called as compound sentences. In Mundari, there are various coordinating conjunctions. For example, oro, har, hado, which is evident from the following examples given below. Hino, hiju, lenai, oro, seno, jana, meaning he came and left. हिने पित्ते सेनो जनाए लेकिन उन्हें काय केरिंग लेनाए. He went to the market but he did not buy any mangoes. Ain school te senai ne kardo pite senai ne. I will go to the school or to the market. Coordinated clauses which are grammatically integrated with the help of coordinating conjunctions are in essence conceptually closer to one another, unlike juxtaposed sentences, since there is an overt linking between the two clauses. Thus, coordination involves a tighter grammatical integration and hence a tighter conceptual linking than juxtaposition. As in juxtaposition, coordination also evokes a temporal meaning and a causal meaning. In sentence 6, the first clause denotes the earlier event and the second clause denotes the later event. Conceptually, the grounded is the act of his coming sets the causal ground for the figure, that is, act of his going. Evidence in support of the coordination being a tighter grammatical link is that it is not compatible with all other meanings like contrastive, which is compatible in case of juxtaposition, thus signifying that they only allow a restricted range of meanings. Moving on to subordination, sometimes sentences subjected to coordination with overt linking may rather leave the connection unclear. For example, I met her in person and she gave a gift. But when they are subjected to what is called as subordination, with a subordinating conjunction, the conceptual link between them becomes rather clear. For example, she gave a gift because I met her in person, where because is such a subordinating conjunction. A subordinate clause may be an adverbial clause or relative clause. In subordination, one of the clauses is a main clause which is grounded and thus can stand in principle as an independent conceptualization. This is not true of the other clause, that is the subordinate clause. Thus, because of the presence of the clause because I met her in person is not an independent conceptualization. Subordinate adverbial clauses have multiple meanings like time, condition, reason, purpose, concession, etc. The speaker chooses the construal subordination when he or she wants to explicitly highlight a particular type of relation between the clauses involved. Some examples from Mundari. Am hijuko hole ain sena. If you come, I'll go. Okona best tana rikayam. Do whatever you consider feasible. I'm Jintam chor ke le jaine, himi meg janai. When I saw the thief, he ran away. Chor Jintam ne janai, I'm le jaine. As the thief ran away, I saw him. Subordination has a more restricted meaning than coordination, and that is why it entertains only one temporal meaning, irrespective of the order of the clauses in a sentence. The complex sentence in 11 and its reversal in 12 have both the same meanings. That is, the thief first started to run away and then I saw him. The iconic principle of sequential order, which states that the order of the clauses in a sentence is dependent on the temporal order of the conceptualization of the events in the world, is not applicable here. As is shown in rather in table, the subordinate clause, irrespective of the order of the clauses, always describes the action that began first and is the ground. The main clause always describes the action following it and is the figure. The sequential order of events described by the main clause and the subordinate clause is thus grammatically fixed. I have also worked on complementation in Mundari, and here we found out that mainly complementation takes place through finite, both finite and non-finite, and in non-finite we have two markers. One is the nominalized form, and where the bare verb form comes, and other is the non-finite marker lie. So because we don't have much time, let me only conclude it. We have focused in the current paper on in the process of integrating conceptual events and its grammatical manifestations in Mundari. Grammar is a way to express a conceptualization of situations of the word. The speaker's choice of the constraint is not arbitrary, rather it is governed by principles of principle of distance or proximity, iconic principle of sequential order, and perceptual principle of figure and ground, among others. Juxtaposition implies a weak conceptual link between the events of the world. Coordination implies a slightly stronger link than juxtaposition. A speaker chooses the construal of subordination when she wants to imply a stronger link between the situations of the world. Complementation is a tighter grammatical link between two situations and is chosen by a speaker when the proximity between two situations is really close. So we hope to throw further light on this particular aspect of Mundari grammar on the basis of further relevant data from the language in the future. So that's it. Thank you.
Vishalakshi,
Yes, sir.
conjunctive participles are very productive process in Indian languages,
Yes, sir.
and in Mundari also you have conjunctive participles. So have you considered them in your cognitive approach? Because you have to, in case you have not,
Sir.
consider them
True.
because
Yes, sir. And I'll include them in future. I haven't for this paper, but I will definitely do it for my research.
you
Very
do
good
it.
suggestion.
And where did you collect your data?
Sir, from 3 tea gardens in Sonitpur district of
Tea
Assam.
gardens. Okay. So this is the Mundari of Assam.
Yes, sir. Mundari of
Thank
Assam.
you.
Thank
But
you.
it's quite
Thank you, sir.
similar to what
Thank
I
you.
noticed in Bihar and Jharkhand.
Okay.
You can also later work on the differences between Jharkhand Mundari and your Assam Mundari. That will be very productive for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, actually, for my PhD work, I am only concentrating on Mundari in Assamese. In Assam.
All right, all right. But you should keep that suggestion.
Yes,
and,
sir. Thank you
it
very
will
much.
certainly improve the quality of your research. Okay.
Thank you
Very good
very much.
suggestion. Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Uday.
Thank you, Professor Subara.